late TV show you'll never watch on Oprah's network has a moment we wanted to share with you. It's kind of funny. The family drama called Queen Sugar on OWN decided to rant about Trump, his supporters, and white people in general this week. The series was created by BLM activist filmmaker Ava DuVernay. Take a listen to this, Jim.
You see these people, it's a cult. They don't just believe him, they believe in him. A billionaire who's never worked a real day in his life, who dodged their military service, who don't believe in their churches, who scorns and derides them. They'd rather hang on to that nothingness, that disdain, rather than give up the dominance of whiteness.
It just looks like the worst show. I mean, the acting looks terrible. A man who's never worked a day in his life. Shall we list off all the properties this guy's built in New York City? You can't walk 50 feet without passing a building that says Trump on it. Hugely successful developer, great real estate mind. It's hilarious. Anyways, whiteness, all the other stuff like that. The episode focuses on BLM after George Floyd's death. The character Nova is the activist of the family, immediately starts setting up another march for justice after George Floyd's death in this series. By the way, just because I like to remind people, George Floyd robbed a pregnant woman 5 years ago and put a loaded gun to her belly. So America needs to remember that as we build monuments to his life. But sure, white people are evil, and we should use cases like George Floyd's, which represent 0.0001% of police interactions, to broadly paint all cops and white people as the problem with society. It's a good way to go. By the way, this is a broadcast on a TV network owned by a black female billionaire. What a horrible country we live in, right? All right, finally, some great news after a very terrible story. A man who callously beat an Asian woman in broad daylight in New York City has been arrested and evidently was out on parole after killing his mom. Brandon Elliott was caught on video punching and kicking a Filipino woman earlier this week outside 360 West 43rd. Watch this. This is 11:40 in the morning. Look at that. Yelling at her, "F you, you don't belong here." The victim, Vilma Carey, 65, was on her way to church when Elliott stomped on her head several times as she lay on a sidewalk. You see a delivery guy right there? Then here comes the building security. Look what he does. "Oh, you just got beat up? Let me just close the door in your face." She suffered a broken pelvis, taken to the hospital, released the next day. Elliott was 19 when he stabbed his mom in the chest 3 times, killed her, sentenced to a minimum of 15 years to life in prison, released in 2019 after he served 16 years. So you stab your mom to death, you get 16 years. Welcome to New York. Elliott is being charged now with 2 counts of assault as a hate crime, 1 count of attempted assault as a hate crime. If convicted, he faces 25 years in prison, so they say. Just as awful, though, that delivery man in the lobby and the security guard who they might as well have the popcorn out, just sat back and watched. Look at that. And then he walks up. Watch this guy walk up. Close the door on your face. Luckily, they've been suspended. There needs to be more. You should be criminally charged for that. If you're a security guard and you do that, you should get tossed in jail for a month. Just as a reminder that we live in a society, you're supposed to do stuff for people. Unreal. Coming